How are you? This is your host, Palmonia Gordon, coming in just to check in. We've been running the series with Mr. Nigel D Birch, the poet, the artist, the writer, who shared a piece entitled Black Woman that has been really impacting a lot of women and hopefully a lot of men. Men, if you have not yet seen it, let me know. Send me a message. With Mr. Birch permission, I'm more than happy to send you the full clip of Black Woman. I, if you could get one thing that would radically change everything about your life, your relationship, your finance from here on in, are you open to at least listen to it? I hope your answer was yes. That's a big
Listen to Mr. Nigel Birch. That's my
how hard Black men and women are expected to be superheroes in the sense where they're not allowed to be soft. They're not allowed to be weak. They're not allowed to be anything less than exceptional. So men have to, come on now, we have to get past this idea that it's okay to be sensitive enough to be vulnerable, to give our woman something, so it can be, going back to what you said, the risk.
Is that what they perceive as being weak?
Oh, absolutely. Male culture, because you think that there's so many layers to it, because men, and I'm just speaking on the men's side, because women have their whole story, their whole narrative. I think from the Black male perspective right now, the problem is that when you look at where a lot of men are coming from, these are coming from different environments that are toxic, maladaptive. So you're talking about whether it's the prison system, whether it's poverty, where this idea of safety, which leans to this idea of vulnerability, was never allowed. And even to this day, you can't, like I told you when we spoke last time, a woman's strength becomes a threat when I'm not acknowledged, not by my woman, but by society for my strength. So in essence, how they see it is, if I'm supporting a woman's strength and I'm not acknowledged for mine, then all I am is an expose of weaknesses. And I think that's where a lot of men struggle, because before, again, like passing the baton, we have to do a lot of unpacking to figure out what is it that men are actually struggling with to why they can't support women, right? And again, it goes back to, I would have to break down my side, as one person, because, my experiences are very different and vast from other people, but I understand my assignment. So no matter if I have a job or I don't have a job, I know what I've been called to do. That means that I have purpose. I was just talking to somebody earlier about the whole idea of work, because, the video that you sent talked a lot about work. And it's interesting because the moment a woman gets pregnant, she is assigned with the ultimate assignment of work. She has purpose and she has something to carry out diligently. A man, and part of that is it's creative, it's yours, and it's work. A lot of times men are getting work, but it's not what they want to do. It's not creative, and it's not purpose for them. And a lot of times the system strains them to the point where they're not even able to get those positions because a lot of other systematic things. So now you're watching your woman. She's a mother, a creative, and then she's finding another purpose. And what you're doing is, as much as, and we're talking about with men unpacking, as much as you continue to support her, I can just imagine for some men, even in that support, it kills them that they're not where they want to be because of a lot of other things. Now, they can't help it. You got to move forward. But that dilemma, now, if it's not changed over time, my wife that's running ahead of me for the moment, soon my vision gets distorted and I think she's running beside me. And then now it becomes a competition, because how long can I deal with this fact that you have all these things? One was God-given in your creative possibilities with a child. Now you are excelling in outside of that realm, and I'm still yet to find my purpose. That kills a lot of brothers. So what happens is they're trying to go for, I'm not working at this job. I'm not working at McDonald's. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, which I disagree with. You should do what you got to do for the time being. But we got to figure out how can we help each other in that strain? Because a lot of the conversation is women will say men get over it, and men are saying forget women. I don't care. You don't want to respect me for my struggle. Stop making excuses, brother. I'm not making excuses. You're making excuses. I did it. Why can't you do it? And then we get into this back and forth. So again, the beginning stages is unpacking and figuring out honestly, without trying to protect ourselves in the conversation, just listening and saying, if these things are the things that are really hurting you, what is going to be our plan of action before we run the race? Because a lot of us are at a point where we just want to run the race. That's ideal. We want to run a race. We want to get over the pain, but we got a lot of training to do. And you said it to me the other day, and it was we got to change some of our fixed beliefs on of years from the past. We're still trying to recondition that. So I think that it starts with conversation. And I do an event called Nightcap, and I've done a lot of social events, and you'll be surprised that it's 80% women and 20% men. So the first thing is, can we get men in the room with women? And that's been the hardest thing thus far. Over the last 2 years, anytime I've done an event that requires vulnerability and speaking, it's always 80-20. So there's something men are scared of in that space. They don't want to have those type of conversations at this point with women. Now we got to figure out why. And I think that's where we start, getting men and women in the room. That should be our first goal.
Okay, question. Have you done any event that's maybe exclusive to men then to say, okay, we're not gonna make it a competition since you seem to have that in your mind? Because maybe if we are able to get them alone and you talk like a pack of wolves and you say, listen to me, brother, I'm on your side. My DNA, my genes is the same as yours, but somehow I'm getting a different result, and I know you can get the same result I'm getting. So let's do it boy style.
Yeah,
Have you
okay.
tried one of those? And then after you've done a couple of those, then you go, okay, now we're going to intermingle. We're going to put it together because, you know, the woman, one of the biggest things is we are very receptive to learning.
Right. That's right.
Men are way different when it comes to learning. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So give them that opportunity to say, hey guys, this is for you. This is why we're doing it. And for those,
that's actually a good idea. Try to see how many men will come in the room, because right now we'll do it. I just have a couple guy friends we'll meet up with without that, but it would be dope to have a call to action where men can come to the table and sit down and have a great conversation and unpack some things about their feelings before they go to a group session that requires both sexes. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, you're right. You know, and have some people that are older. I think older men, I think that's another thing, is that there's as much as social media is allowed for different generations of people to congregate, I think there needs to be more cross-generational conversations with older people as well. Again, one of my, my keys to why I was able to do what I was doing, I had a lot of mentors in my life, whether it's uncles. I was the only child for a long time, so I was always around adults. And I think it's so important and imperative to learn from older men, because it's becoming linear where you're taking advice from friends that maybe not have been through enough seasons or of growth and development, or haven't been in successful relationships, and you're taking advice from those people, and it's leading to the same result. So yeah, it'd be good to get men in a room of different ages and have a conversation to see what it is that's really bothering them. But even in that, I think we talked about this the other day, is in that how many strategic in determining how many men in that room are not victims of toxic masculinity and who are going to challenge the narrative. Just like we talked, and you challenged me, you said, when those guys talk with this machoistic mentality, do you challenge them? So I think it would be good to have certain men in a room that challenge that narrative, and then certain men that are dealing with some of these false held beliefs because they never had a person in their life that's changed that narrative to believe that men should be operating in a certain manner. And again, I think men have to do a better job of reframing what it means to be a man. Like if you think about it, a lot of men don't have one example. And if you don't go to church and you're not from that spiritual basis, then where does this idea? I'm familiar with Jesus. I'm familiar with men that are balanced in character. That's how I've learned. But what about the men that have never ever been to church and have never had a stable father in their life? Like what is a question for you? Like as a woman, a man comes in your life and he's never had those things. Like what would you tell him? Like where would you tell him to go? He's 40 years old. He's 50 years. Like where do you tell him to go? Like how do you start with that?
I quite frankly,
Mm.
there is something that is within us, which is why we feel the pain that we do. We have at birth, each of us, just as how that umbilical cord was attached, there is something that is within us that causes us to crave for what we're craving. So even when you are hungry and you feel like eating something, because I know I operate like that. I can't put my finger on exactly, I can't say to you, I feel for a sundae because I need ice cream and banana or a banana split. But when I walk into a place, and even just by reading the menu, it pops, that's what I want. It's the same way when the man might see the woman and something within him responds. That connects with me. I believe there's something in us and in the men that they have an idea of what it is they want to be, what they have never done, which is why as a coach, I'm not sure if you know that I do speaking and coaching, what I am big on teaching and encouraging people to do is design a blueprint. What's that blueprint? That's where I sit down and I put pen and paper and I write, how do I see my life? What kind of house do I want to live? What kind of car do I want to drive? Because it's amazing when you put that on paper, you're going to write stuff that you go, oh, I didn't even know I like blue house, or I didn't even know I like greenhouse, because it's kind of in us. Until we get it out where we can see it, we will walk past it every day. And that's a challenge. Because if you haven't taken the time to recognize that that's you, you will go past it your entire life and don't know it's you, because you haven't made it a physical thing so you connect identically to say, oh my God, that's me. It's like saying to a blind man, hey, I got a mirror in front of you. What do you see? He can't see it because his eyes is not open. But if he says to you, oh my gosh, I have blue eyes, I have blonde hair, or I have, I am this. When you put that mirror up and that's the reflection, what does he say? Oh my gosh, that looks like me. So I'm not sure if and you get where I'm going with that? There is a part of it is in us. It's ingrained, which is why a part of the struggle happens, because I know what I'm supposed to be or how I'm supposed to be, but I have never built it. It's like having a block of Lego or whatever building structure that you have. You have a building in your head, but you still have the Lego in the box. Or when you throw it out on the ground, it tumbles out and it sits there and you're wondering, why the hell doesn't it look like in the building on my head? Take the building out and put it on paper. Then you can take the block and take time and construct it to get that particular structure that you see. Am I making kind of sense?
So question, so in your, so as a summarizing it, so are you saying that you think that there's something innate in us that knows how to be a man?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There is a
So
part
how
in us. There is that's a part of it. And it's being willing to connect with that part of us too.
Okay.
Willing to, it comes in with what you're saying about being vulnerable and being open and being sensitive. It's being willing to connect to that part. Some of your questions that you ask and you get answered, where does it come from?
Well, it comes from well, it's hard to say. I think that it comes from a different vehicles, and because I always look at like what are the factors that align with who I am today. I agree. I think from if you look at it through a spiritual lens, once you peel back all the layers of what you've been through, there lies your truth, and there will be someone that's vulnerable, sweet, kind, empathetic. You know, Corinthians 13. I totally agree with that. But the thing is that I struggle with because I watch the men, is if that's the case, then what is stopping them? What's clouding that? Because you're saying it's there. So what's covering that to stop them from being this man that they know is within them? That becomes the question.
One, somebody being able to say to you, what's your blueprint? What's your dream? Even that one question alone can unpack so much. Because how many black boys, you work in a system, how many black boys do you know get asked, what is your dream? What's your vision? What do you see for your life? Mm-hmm. Because once you ask the question, you set a motion of events in action. Because if they, I never thought about it. But then now you've planted a seed. Will they now allow that seed to go deep enough?
Well, I think that depends on, and let's use the seed analogy. I think that depends on the environment within the seed is growing. And I think that's the problem, is that when you talk to a lot of youth, what you find is, or people in general, is learned helplessness.
Continue to watch this episode, this series. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, share the information, but most of all, like the second hand on the clock. How are you, Mr. Barnes? My friend in Florida, he says he looks forward to the second hand on the clock. You take 60 tiny moves that you can come back tomorrow. God bless you. I love you. Have a good day.